his.
All right. Good afternoon on this lovely October 12th, 2025 edition of our show. This is Penelope Flynn, and I'm here with your Blerdsassins Next Door, James, Nikki, Sonia, Otto, and today we are going to be talking about Black Speculative Fiction Month. So this is the month that we're going to be celebrating, pointing out, letting you know what are our favorite Black speculative fiction authors, films, literature, shows, so you can basically put together your playlist through the end of the year and going into next year. But before we get started, again, of course, we do um, our talk about the weather. And with that, I was going to say James, but it's kind of like he done disappeared from the
Putting
center
his head out the
square.
window to see what the temperature is.
Ah, okay. Well, go ahead with Sonia since you're here. Why don't you tell us
Hey,
what it's like where you are?
well, late fall came briefly because it was colder and rainy for Friday and Saturday, like low 50s, and now it's bounding back up into the mid 60s and stuff, and then it's going to go back down again. So we're in that nice up and down weather right now.
So when you're up there and you've been there what for like a couple of years now,
Yeah.
so when does it actually make that final turn usually and you know this is it? That is was winter now. I mean it's late fall, winter now, and we will no longer get any cold, any warm weather. When does that
When
happen?
we first moved up, it snowed right after midnight on Halloween. So that was the first signal. And then last year, it was around November-ish. Um, but they're expecting colder than normal weather this year. So we'll see what happens.
All right, doesn't
As long
sound
as it's not, what was it? I think they said there was 52 days of no of either cloudy or snow, no, or snow. 52
wow.
consecutive days of snow. No, and it was gray, and no, I can't do that again. No.
Oh wow. Well, I hope that does not happen
I
to you.
need some sunlight in between.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Well, now that we have James back, how's the
Yeah,
weather up there?
no, the weather is. It's been raining all day. You had
Really?
this. Excuse me. Amazon came and dropped off a book.
What is it?
Uh, the name of the book is.
Okay, don't be smart, Otto. Go ahead,
I
James.
beg your pardon. What? What?
I said, what is it? And
No,
what
I.
did you say, Otto? You said it's a book. I said, oh, I said you saw something and you looked it up. I said, oh, what is it? So, but what is it? And so then he started getting to explanation of what it is.
Okay, out of here, Otto. Anyway, no, the book. The name of the title of the book is Low Life, and it's pertaining to the Urban Prospectors uh podcast because it's about the history of a lot of craziness that went on in New York from 1845 to 1919.
Wow. Well, that's very
Yeah.
interesting. That's definitely in your wheelhouse. Was it a gift or was it something you bought for yourself?
No, it's something that I ordered because I had to get it because it has pictures and it talks about things that were going on in Chinatown and the Lower East Side. A lot of people don't know that. Okay, when you see Chuck Connors, real quick, when you see him
Mm-hmm.
on, Chuck Connors, the actor,
Right?
more than likely he got his name. His parents probably named him Chuck Connors, um, from a famous character in New York City, which I'll get into on the Urban Prospectors.
All right, cool beans. All right.
James is a
Yeah.
man.
He
James is
is. All
yeah.
right. And Otto, since we hear your voice, tell us how the weather's going for you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah, you did.
no,
Yes, you did.
no, I heard Sonya talk about Rochester and like the gloomy weather. I would trade that. That
Really?
weather like that with no sun and all that stuff. It's right up my alley because it's like 90 degrees here and it's in October. It's October what? Is that 12?
Yeah.
The F is going on, man. Where's my fall?
It's
But
You
no,
coming.
don't get a
but
fall.
no
That's
sun
it.
means
You
no
don't get one.
vitamin D, and you gotta
I
have
can take a
something
listen.
to
I can
recharge
take
the human body.
I can
Yep.
take a
It was
pill.
just
I
so
can take a
gray. It
pill.
felt like a big, heavy
I can take a
bag over
pill.
your head.
I can
Wow.
take the pill, Miss Biology. I don't need I don't need the sun to be in like 90 degrees for me to get vitamin D. I can get it
I
other
didn't
way.
say 90. I just wanted any sun.
I'll
Anything.
switch.
Yeah, yeah, because here it takes a while. It takes a while. So, okay, Otto, I got to ask you then, when in North Texas does it make the switch when you know, okay, we are done with the summer weather, the early fall, that we are truly into fall? When does that happen?
Well, typically,
August. August.
well, typically, I think it happens like since my history historically has been like Halloween.
Hmm.
All of a sudden it's 90 degrees, and next thing you know it's 40. So Halloween, October 31st,
It's just the immediate change in weather here.
absolutely immediate, and it stays that way, and then it gets real cold, and you know, I prefer Poughkeepsie, not Poughkeepsie. Well, I keep saying Poughkeepsie.
I don't
I
know.
prefer Rochester.
Yeah, yeah, that kind of weather. But I mean,
Yeah,
I would prefer. I mean, Philadelphia, I think, is the most temperate. That mid-Atlantic temperate zone
I
is
want
the
to I
best for
want to
me.
experience a full 4 seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll do it in Philadelphia. You
Well,
Yeah,
know.
don't
four,
well
four
don't come to
seasons.
Fort Lauderdale, please, because we don't get a winter until the end of January, early
Yeah,
February, and
yeah.
it's just for 2 weeks too. So
Then
That
you will
shit
don't
too.
start.
come to
That
Fort
too.
Lauderdale.
That too. I don't want to. No, I don't.
Yeah,
Fort Lauderdale.
I couldn't do that. I could
Yeah,
not do
no.
that. Yes.
I could.
That's a
Yeah.
place. That's a place for homeless people. Like you would sleep on the street.
Okay, that's very kind. Be
I'm
quiet
Perfect.
not
now.
homeless. I like it.
Very well, maybe homeless. You keep messing with me. You could sleep on the streets because the weather is very welcoming.
Yeah, yeah, very nice. So how about for you, Nikki? I mean, I know you're here in Texas and not in Florida right now, but
Uh,
for you, how's the weather working out?
It's good here, but I'm sad because this is my last weekend here in Dallas. As of next Saturday, I'll be back home in Fort Lauderdale. Aren't y'all
And you
sad for me?
Ask me if I'm sad.
I'm not even gonna. You know what? Just for that, I'm gonna stay another month. Now, just
Oh
for that,
no.
I'm gonna stay
Oh, you're gonna
another
experience
month.
that Fort Lauderdale weather that you love so
No, I'm
much.
I'm gonna miss you all more than the weather, so I'm gonna stay another month.
Yeah, all right.
All right, now.
He was getting
I
ready
mean,
to pack your bags for you.
He
yeah, there
sure
you
Getting
go.
was.
ready to.
That's why I'm gonna stay here.
All
I'm gonna
right.
keep the air running and everything.
Okay, there we go.
Run up that
So
bill.
now everybody's all nice and warmed up. I want to get into our Black Speculative Fiction, our favorite of Black Speculative Fiction. Since it's Black Speculative Fiction Month, where we are celebrating, all manner of Black speculative fiction, and that's from horror to sci-fi to fantasy, time travel, historical fiction, all of it. So all the speculative fiction, let's talk about these things and how we what our favorites are and what we can recommend for other people and hopefully where to find it. So, James, you are top center today. So I guess we'll start with you if you don't mind, to let us know what areas of Black speculative fiction um, you have an affinity for,
Um,
and also what you would recommend for other people.
I love it all. I love it all. It's very little that I don't like. Maybe the The only issue I have is maybe what was it? I'm not even gonna name the writer or producer director's name, but the movie Gold Digger Killers.
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, even by my nefarious standards, that was a bridge too far. That's a bridge
Yeah,
too
okay.
far. But no, I love it all. Okay, I love it all because see, I told people maybe a couple of years ago that from 2014 on up, it's been to me sort of like a second coming of the Harlem Renaissance, but on a more global and international and social media level, because you have so many black writers out here now that it's just incredible.
Yeah.
So I love it all. In my living room, I have, which I need to straighten up. I have a section of on my bookshelf of black speculative fiction writers. You know, um, I mean, nothing for nothing. Your book is on the shelf. Okay,
Yay.
yeah. I love it all. I try to support it as much as I can. Also, I try to sort of like backtrack and check out books by our ancestors. Like uh, uh I just got finished reading a book by Frank, was it Yarby?
Yerby, yeah. That is
Yerby?
the person who got me into actually writing what I write because it was so adult and
Yeah.
it was, historical references, etc. I think Goat Song was the first of his books that I ever read. And or was it Treasure of Pleasure Valley may have been the first. Either one of those would have, I think, was one of the first. And then the
Yeah.
Dahomey, and
Hmm.
I mean, all of it. I read a lot of Yerby when I was young, and I thought, wow, this is what I want to write. This is how I want to write.
And the thing with him is his story is a teensy bit sad because for a while people didn't even know he was black. You know, people
For a
people
while, he
didn't.
didn't know he was black, so there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Excuse me, why you say that, Nadine? I mean, Penelope.
Well, because during a certain period of his life, his
Mhm.
argument was that I think his father or something was Anglo, or he was of mixed heritage, mixed lineage, which made
Mhm.
him not black but white.
Yeah.
And
Well.
that was a position that he espoused for a while, I think, until or
Yeah.
maybe through the period that he was teaching at FAMU.
Yeah. Huh.
And I
Yeah.
think when he started really writing, really doing his historical fiction, was when he changed his perspective.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
mhm. I had it
Okay.
back to you, James. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for
And
interrupting.
No, no,
no,
no, no,
no,
not at
no
all.
problem. No, yeah. Like I said, for a while, other people didn't know that he was a black writer, basically. And back then, you know, well, with him, I say, he didn't know. But then you also had some people that tried to hide it. Okay, like I think mentioned it before. The cartoonist George Herman. People, he would be in the office of a newspaper doing his cartoon strip, and people's like, well, what is it? Is it cold in here? And why is he always have a hat on? But he was just hiding his kinky hair, you know. But getting back to speculative fiction, yeah, it's just it's just outstanding that you have so many writers out here of color that are, picking up the pen or going to the laptop or whatever to
Mhm.
write, and like I said, I tend to backtrack and sort of like look at the ancestors, because a lot of people don't know W.E.B. Du Bois. He actually wrote a speculative fiction short story, The Comet,
Mhm.
which again I would say ad nauseum. I really think the producers and directors that did that movie with, what is it, Between the Devil and the Sea with Harry Belafonte. Yeah, I really think that they got that idea from the boys' short story.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. The boy's short story. The main character, he's down in the basement of a financial house in Manhattan. When the comet comes past New York, it kills just about everybody, and he has to fend for himself, and he meets up with this white woman.
Mhm.
And with the movie with Harry Belafonte, they switched it to he's a coal miner in Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and he doesn't know that something catastrophic has happened up on the surface, and he has to make his way from Pennsylvania to New York, and he meets this white woman in Manhattan, and I I really think that though the people that did that film, they for lack of a better word, stole the idea, because I may be wrong, but I don't, in the opening or closing credits, I don't see anything that says, "Oh, based on a short story by W.E.B. Du Bois." You know, so yeah,
But they
it's
do. They do, the Hollywood types do that a lot, and they will,
oh yeah,
because you can't copyright an idea. So yeah, a lot of times they are very slick about that.
yeah, yeah. If you didn't know, anything about the short story, you would think that it was like an original idea. But
Exactly.
what I tend to tell people as far as recommendations go to blacksciencefictionsociety.com, um and join. Go to Black Science Fiction Society, their page on Facebook, which I'm one of the administrators of, and join, and you'll just see a cornucopia of creative people, and it's funny because with us as a community, I don't know what it is, but I find that with black male creative people or creatives, black
Hmm.
males, they tend towards the comics or graphic novels, while black creative women, they tend towards doing novels or short story collections, you know, in and of itself.
Yeah. See, I think a lot of that is because a lot of it's a lot easier, I think, to find artists when you
Right.
are male. I think there are a lot more male artists that will work with male artists. 'Cause believe me, I did. I started out with doing parts of graphic novel, and I started out, and artists are expensive. And back in the day, artists would not work with you. I mean,
Right.
they would work with you, but they wouldn't have money. I mean, you say, "Hey, I got this great idea. This write this story. You've got the art. We can get together, do this thing, then put it out there, and then split it 50-50 or whatever." But no,
Yeah.
artists want to be paid up front, right now. So it was very hard starting out if you didn't have extra money to pay an artist, or if you were not an artist yourself,
Well,
again, to do your artwork.
it's funny you should say that, because um that's kind of the situation with my cousin up in Massachusetts right now. He's trying to do a graphic novel, and I guess when I told him the ABCs of doing panels for for comics for a graphic novel, he's now, because he's up in age. Right now, he's looking for a artist,
Yeah.
to do it. And I tell you a quick story with me. When I first got into this, of course, I read the book by Womack, Afrofuturism and whatnot. And I started, get into it, and then, like I tell people with Jarvis Sheffield and
Mhm.
Black Science Fiction Society, it was like, do you take the red pill or the blue pill? You know,
Meaning,
meaning I guess I took the red pill, and it's been fun ever since. And
so
I, yeah,
so where does the blue pill take us?
no, well, that's a reference to the Matrix.
I
You know,
know that. I know.
yeah,
So the
Either
red
you
I
know
pill,
or you don't know.
yeah.
right,
So I mean, I'm saying, yeah, those who like that know the Matrix, the reference of taking the red pill, the blue pill. The one pill, you don't remember this thing; it never happened. And then the other is that you take the pill and you go down the rabbit hole.
yeah,
And so
and
you're down the rabbit hole.
yeah, I went down the rabbit hole, and it's been fun ever since.
Good.
I've made friends, I've met people. I remember uh, Celeste Rita Baker. She's a writer. We used to have like a subgroup that would meet up at her house in Harlem, and we would discuss, Black speculative fiction. And then it was one time I actually cried. I actually
Mm.
cried because I had found out about Body Jumpers, okay, a web series by Alex Fernandez.
I
And
remember that.
yeah, and you know, it's not the greatest, thing ever made, and it's some of the stuff, you know, I look at it like this: if he had more money, it would definitely be top shelf. But I kid you not, just the fact that I went on YouTube and watched it, and I was
Hmm.
like, wow, this is some serious business. People are actually out there creating. And it's not just creative people. You also have patrons, people that
Hmm.
that support us. And it's just been a blast ever since. I guess
Hmm.
2000 and 2014. Well, 2015, because that's actually the first time I actually had something published, and that was in Black Science Fiction magazines. It was their magazine, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's been a blast ever since.
Yeah. So I think we talked about you like it everything. So you write. So what areas do you write in?
Well, it's funny. I grew up as a serious science fiction fan. You know, I I watched all the usual suspect shows during the '60s and '70s. Um, Anything from Star Trek to Lost in Space to even Doctor Who. Thank you very much, Otto. Um, Twilight Zone. But I guess it kind of the writing bug in me was started with the Twilight Zone. Because as I got older, I wanted to find out who these writers were, other than Rod Serling, who were doing the writing. And then an episode of Deep Space Nine really set me on fire. What is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I
The
remember
Star.
that one.
Yeah, this
I know
what's the
exactly what
name
you're
of it?
talking about. I
The
do not
Star.
remember, but Sonia, you should know.
Love
I
that
Yeah,
did
show.
until he mentioned it.
Of course, I know. I
Yeah,
understand.
I love that
The
100%.
minute he mentioned it, it went right out of my head because I just saw a picture from it and went, I need to rewatch this episode.
I love that.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
Yeah.
I really watched that series. But that episode was really stand out to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember.
It was. I mean, that's when I said that I really need
I'm gonna do it.
to. Yeah, I'm gonna
I'm gonna
do
do it.
it. And in the course of writing, you kind of try to find the genre that suits you.
Hmm.
Okay, so okay, I did a little bit of science fiction at first. Then I went into the what was it, the steampunk thing that was going on a couple years
Absolutely.
ago.
What fun is that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Far
And then
Beyond the Stars.
there you go, Far Beyond the Stars. Love
Okay.
that
60,
episode.
sixth season, episode 13.
Yeah, love that episode. Actually, that's I think I had another John Boehner moment. Where
Ah,
with
you got
something in
teary.
my eye. Yeah, I got teary eyed. So I finally, and it's funny because horror. I love horror too, but I'm more of a gothic horror person.
Mm,
Hammer films type of horror. Slasher films. I'm not really into slasher films. Because it's just
yeah.
people getting cut up. What is anyway? Though finally, I settled on the subgenre of occult detective. Okay, which anybody that the best I could describe with occult detective is like if the old Night Stalker show,
Hmm.
with Kolchak and
Yeah. Love Carl Koshak. Dan
yeah,
McGavin. Carl Koshak, the Night Stalker.
yeah, which I recently saw the reboot from a couple of years ago on YouTube, and it was, I
The
don't know.
first, yeah, the first several episodes I thought were they did not really have a direction. But I think in the middle of the series, when they
Uh huh.
started shifting more toward away from him and toward her, the one that Gabrielle Union was in, it
Right.
got better.
Well,
And
maybe.
then
Hmm.
they didn't renew it, which really stunk because it started to get its legs under it, and I was so sad that it did not continue.
Hmm. Well, maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to check the later episodes because the
Yeah,
first episode, actually, the first episode I saw creeped me out,
really.
but not in a scary movie type of creep out. I just found the actor that was playing Kolchak.
Uh huh.
I don't know. I don't know. He just. It
I
was
think
just some.
because
He wasn't good, and I have several questions after James does.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think because he played the role of Lestat in which was it, The Queen of the Damned. I think
Uh
that's
huh.
probably why he got the role, because he was a person who was in that genre, not necessarily because he was, the best possible selection for that role.
Well, that and maybe it was at one point in the first episode, he's like talking to this child, and the way he's asking the questions and looking at her, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this here. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. But anyway, long story short, yeah, I settled on occult detective because at one point, I say from about the time I was about 12 to 15, I was really into buying, stuff, uh, paperbacks about the paranormal and UFOs and ghost stories and all that. So it's kind of, I guess, write what you know, you know.
I have three questions that if I may ask.
Sure, go on.
Um, being a consumer, like the tags, do not. Anyway, being a consumer,
Yeah.
for people who are not creators, like me, um, what is the definition of speculative fiction, and why is it called speculative? Number one. Number two is, for instance, you mentioned the Gabrielle Union character in Kolchak, and do you think that there's a problem with, like the Gabrielle Union, the black female character, being being Kolchak? I mean, in all
Yeah,
honesty, being
she
Kolchak.
should have been
Is
Kolchak.
that
That would have been
do
a
you
better
see that?
show.
Do you see that continuing problem? And then
Hmm.
number three is, the genre in which you write. Is it more, if you're trying to convey a message, or trying to convey any sort of state of emotional being, is it better to do drama, sci-fi, horror? Because we see a lot of films out now, like, one battle at a time, or one battle after another, which people are flocking to. And whenever people flock to stuff like that, it makes me do the opposite, like not flock to it. But those are my
Hmm.
three questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Go ahead, go ahead, James. You all respond, and I'll respond, and anybody else
Okay.
that wants to
Well,
respond.
all right. Well, number one, with the term speculative fiction, it's it's kind of an old term. Okay, because that's basically you're speculating about the future. You're speculating about, is there life after death? You're speculating about, you read a story about, I don't know, C Lab 2020 or whatever. You speculate, can people actually live underwater? It's you. That's what made Jules Verne famous. Okay.
It's
Second,
the what if,
yeah,
you know?
the what ifs. With the the question about Gabrielle Union, that's still a problem because you still have a certain segment of society when you reboot a show or redo a show, or the word I kind of hate, reimagine. Some people can get it. Some people will clutch their pearls about it. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I mean, when Star Wars when they came out with the next uh cycle of Star Wars movies, everybody was clutching their pearls because the main character was a woman. You know, so that's an ongoing. I mean, look, going off topic real quick. Look at the situation with the Super Bowl halftime show. But now with the third, what was the third question?
The genre. It seems like people, they're trying to convey a message, or trying to convey some state of emotional being, or
Right,
something. They
right.
drift toward either sci-fi or horror. And my question is drama a viable
Yeah,
vehicle for that sort of
yeah,
thing? Because a movie like One Battle After Another, which people seem to be flocking to, and
right.
which my thing is, if people flock to movies like that, I stand in opposition. It's just my nature of standing in opposition, because
Oh
it
well,
seems shallow,
yeah,
or fugazi, ways of whatever. That's my second
yeah,
question.
yeah.
What's the
Well,
best?
no, well, I believe me and you are cut from the same cloth because if it's something that's uber popular, I just out of nature, I'm like, no, I'm not going to see that. I'm not going to see it, no matter how good it is, because you know I feel like I'm just a cow in the herd or a steer in the herd and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But no, you can convey a message. You can convey a message through whether it be drama, or science fiction or horror, you could get your message across. A lot of people don't know that some of the early science fiction writers, I hate to say it, some of them were very like reactionary. And that's why they wrote certain science fiction stories, because they were kind of, they felt like they were given a warning about change. You know what I'm saying? But then on the other side of the coin, you have some people like Rod Serling that put a message out there within the stories that he wrote about, social ills or society's problems as is. Actually, Otto, you kind of gave me a wake up call a while back, because I think I was telling you about the book signing that I did up at Sisters Uptown Bookstore, and the person asked me, um, the question was, well, can you, when are you going to write a science fiction story about a better world, or how things will change for the better? And I told that person I can't see myself doing that, because right now things are so messed up. What is the point? But then you kind of reminded me that, well, okay, you say you write stories about minor black historical figures. And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, well, you know, what about that? And I was like, you know what? That's what I should continue to do. Because right now, we as a people, our history they're trying to erase our history.
Right.
So that was kind of like, you need to keep doing what you're doing. Is from what I got, you know.
Yep. Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
not everyone knows. They just don't
Well,
know.
and I
Yeah.
think people don't realize that some of the first speculative fiction written by African Americans was just a life out of slavery, because back then nobody could imagine what the country would be like without slavery in it. So by
Yeah,
nature, it was a speculative fiction story.
yeah. I came across a science fiction story by a gentleman by the name of Andrew Johnson. He was a black businessman in New York, and I think he was like, at that time, a lot of blacks were Republicans, and the story that he wrote, it was about a man that went up in an airship, and the airship got caught in some type of storm, and it came down in the future, and the future was more brighter for black people than the time that the time and era that the man had left. So yeah, you're right, Sonya. A lot of it was about that.
But is drama capable of conveying a similar message as far
Well,
as
I
I
think what
think
what you have to figure is that you have drama and you have comedy, which are the two main categories. Then below drama and comedy, you can have a dramatic horror film, a dramatic science fiction film, or comedic science fiction, or something that's somewhere in the middle, a dramedy. So drama and comedy are kind of like the two major categories. Everything else falls underneath it, you know. So drama in and of itself can be anything, except comedy. It can be anything type of drama and anything type of comedy, and then anything type of mashup between the two.
and
So yeah.
now
Hmm.
I was going to say, and now speculative poetry is coming into its own. So people are using, the poetic format to speculate on what could be or what has been, or how, let's do something different, or here's my observation on this bleak world,
Hmm.
and framing it within the same context that most fiction would normally take, but
well,
in poetic.
I think that I mean to interrupt, but one the thing is about science fiction and horror as a genre, for the most part, for the majority, it's a little bit different now, but it's been looked down upon as a species of writing, right, or species of storytelling as opposed to drama. You would get Raisin in the Sun
Oh yeah.
as a drama, but you wouldn't get a science fiction or horror version of
Well,
Raisin in the Sun. Although Raisin in the Sun could be a horrible thing to a lot of people, but could you do that same Lorraine Hansberry kind of telling of the story of a black family in a science fiction or horror type?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
give the same, it give the
yeah.
same message.
Yeah, you can do it. It's just
yeah,
that
yeah, family going out in space and being the first black family in the colony or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can instead of it being early '60s Chicago, which is what raising the sun is set during that time. Like Sonya just said, you could just switch it around to like the year 2026 on
Well,
Mars.
the thing about Raising in the Sun, to me, it wasn't about the first black family in a white neighborhood. It was actually the struggle of a
Yeah,
black family being black in this country and the kind of class kind of dynamics. And so as far as moving to a white neighborhood, which I guess they kind of did at the end, the story was more about black existence, right? Just
Well, aren't
actually.
we? Well, aren't we facing that right now with scientists? People aren't thinking that women or people of color can be great scientists. What if this great scientist is on the planet and he's just struggling to be accepted as a scientist in this new atmosphere?
Or maybe
Oh,
to have a speculative thing like that, maybe, and I'm asking a question,
mhm.
maybe it's an issue or concern of establishing that black people and black women can be scientists.
Right.
They can be these
Or
things.
or the thing is this, and I would do mine, of course, in the inverse, is that, my stories, of course they are, and the issue is, not even questioned. It's like they just are.
Exactly. It's like Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek.
She
Nobody
just
nobody
is.
nobody questioned or looked at her like, "What are you doing here?" Or,
Yeah, she just is.
I,
She's just there.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
well,
Just everybody else is just
I just
there.
jump over it, right?
Yeah, right,
well,
right.
part of the problem is as time moves on and
Hmm.
generations come and go,
Hmm.
you have a whole generation out here now of a certain segment of this country that if Star Trek was to come out brand new, okay, now it would get a lot of hate. Okay, it would get a lot of hate because they would be like, "Why is she on the bridge?" When back when we, saw Star Trek during the mid '60s, Lieutenant Uhura she was just there. It was no
That's right.
questioning.
She's just
No
there.
Yeah,
question at
Well,
all.
I mean,
well, Star Trek.
And
I'm
if she was ever given the opportunity to sit in the commanding chair, who would question that? Who
yeah,
some person in Iowa? Because I wouldn't, as a kid, I would look at that and say, "Oh yeah, now she's
uh,
in
uh,
charge. Now she's
yeah,
in charge." It wouldn't be a big thing.
yeah. It wouldn't be
Well,
a big
see,
thing. Just like back then, somebody had mentioned it recently. Back then with Batman, you had Eartha Kitt as Catwoman.
Hmm.
She was a black woman. You had Cesar Romero as the Joker. Not just. It wasn't just the fact that he was Latino, but he was gay Latino.
I
If
didn't know
you
that
would,
about him. I'm watching the show. I'm a kid. I don't know who he gets with, and it's no business of mine.
yeah, yeah. But
but
I'm
that's the
saying,
argument now. Now
yeah,
they're using Star Trek is so woke because they have an LGBT family in Discovery.
yeah, and
Yeah, when has Star Trek not been woke?
well, see, see, that's to tell you the truth. That's the problem I had when they first started coming out with advertisement for Discovery. Okay, because what is her name? Green. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, she did a promotion and she's like, "Oh well, this is the most." I think she said the most diverse Star Trek that's ever been made. I'm like, why is she
Yeah,
going there?
that.
It's always
Because
been.
Yeah, it's always
yeah,
been
it,
that
Well,
it,
it's
way.
always been, but it was the first time that the characters were allowed to be
I'm sorry.
diverse.
I'm sorry. It's a slippery slope.
It's
Yeah,
just
but
It's a slippery slope to be talking about woke. What the fuck does that mean?
in
No one
fact,
is woke. No
no,
one is woke.
exactly.
Nobody
And
is.
see, the thing about it, the thing about well, Lead Belly is the one that told us to be woke way back in the 30s
Yeah,
with
try to
his
wake your
song.
ass up. Try to wake
Yeah,
your ass up. You ain't
yeah.
woke.
And,
You
and
waking
see,
up.
another thing was we weren't in the 80s and 90s. We weren't using the word woke. We was using black consciousness.
Hmm.
Because we have in America we have a dual consciousness.
Right.
Okay,
hmm
but what I'm saying though is we, he didn't. They didn't have to come out with that promotion because, as far as I'm concerned, Star Trek has always been like that. Okay,
Always. Always been
always.
like
Why? To me, that was a bit of pandering. Okay, because
Yeah.
I can remember the Encounter at Farpoint, right? The
Hmm.
first episode of the Next Generation. They showing Starfleet people, walking back and forth, and all of a sudden you see a Starfleet officer, white male, and he's wearing a dress. That that didn't phase me. Like,
listen,
so
you know
what?
what? I'm not questioning that.
I'm
I
not.
don't
That's
I don't
yeah. This is what I'm saying. It
can
was
he fight
it.
can he fight a Klingon or not? Can he
Yeah.
what's going
This is
on?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is this: it's like it's a uniform. Anybody can wear it. You can the pants. They got a skirt. They got a dress. Whoever the hell. It's just a uniform. I mean,
yeah.
it's not like they're wearing something that was like a Klingon uniform. Then I think you'd be a little bit
Right.
concerned.
Right,
And,
right. Like
and,
I said,
and
if
see if you
Lieutenant
go.
Uhura if
Yeah.
Lieutenant Uhura got into the commanding chair, which he never got a chance to do, which I don't understand why not. Why
Because
Scotty
she
had to
was
come all
ranked
the way
above Scotty, and she was ranked above him.
right. And he's not even on the bridge.
Right.
So
She's a
it's like
bridge officer.
I could never understand that. But you know what? If she got into the commanding chair and took over command of the ship, who would question it?
No, nobody big because nobody would question it because this is what we were brought up um to
Understanding.
And that
understand.
and
It's like
is that speculative fiction because we're considering a black woman in the seat of command?
No, it's
no,
speculative
no.
No.
fiction because it's in the future.
It's the
It's just
future.
anything in the future is speculative.
It's in the future. It's in the tradition of, like I said, a writer like Jules Verne. With it's just speculating how things would be in the 23rd century. Another thing is what people don't know unless you got into Star Trek, especially the books, is that at one point Lieutenant Uhura she ended up running Section 31,
Hmm.
okay, which is Starfleet's intelligence unit. So she ended up getting a bigger slice of the pie, so to speak, than everybody else. With
and
Hmm.
and since the animated series is canon, she did take over the chair in an episode of the animated.
But it's
she did.
unfair because she takes over the chair, and that's because all the males on the bridge are gone.
She took care of business.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm saying that in a way, it's kind of like if there had been men left on the bridge. If Spock was gone and the captain was gone,
Right.
then she should have been the
It's
next
under those
officer,
it's under
right?
those dire circumstances and then the second thing is from what I understand, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Star Trek the animated series was a lot of those scripts and stories were stuff they could not do on the actual series itself.
Right.
Yeah, well, it was the animated series was looked at as the next 5 year mission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after the end of the series. But what I'm saying is that okay, she didn't but sit in the captain's chair until the next 5 year mission, the animated series.
Right.
But Star Trek to me has also been a progression of things. Um, if one was to read again, because none for none, I'm rereading a lot of my Star Trek paperbacks right now. Um, you have situations where you have same sex relationships. Okay, you have situations where Ahura is running Section 31. Okay, which
So is that
Unfortunately, Paramount had always said that the books were never canon, but
yeah,
you could tell that later writers took inspiration from the books and incorporated some of the stuff from the books.
of course, and another thing is a lot of those paperbacks were actually like sequels
Hmm.
or part twos to episodes. You know,
so is it speculative to imagine uh quote unquote diverse crew when the Star Trek first came out?
Yes.
Is that speculative? Okay.
Yes.
Speculative is anything that deviates from the current norm. Because you're
Okay.
asking, what if we change this in the current norm? Or what if we are seeing something in the current norm that we can talk about, like the episode with the half black, half white faced aliens? I can't remember the name of the episode. And
Let that be your last battlefield.
thank you. Um,
Oh,
that was
who joined us. Oh, great.
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. Well, where's your parachute? Where's your parachute, Cranston? You just
Long
parachuted
story.
in.
But to answer two things we didn't get to. One reason that Uhura never got the command chair, and you would wonder why did they give it to Chekhov? If you follow the reboot movies, he was only 17 when he got on the ship. Was the unwritten rule that women could not command a starship. And that
It's
was
not unwritten. They said it in the last episode
in the
of the
last
first season,
episode,
which
and
I mean, I was just stunned. I was like, I was undone, completely undone.
yeah, and it wasn't until the late Madge Sinclair in the opening of the voyage home was in command of a starship that we saw a woman commanding a starship. But the other thing is that you notice in the entire series, there was never a female with a rank higher than lieutenant.
Mhm. What was the rank of in the pilot? What was the rank
Well,
of the Matthew
now
Barrett's character?
now they never said exactly what her title
But
was,
I was
although
under the impression that she was commander.
yeah, she was the on. Yeah, you're right. She was the second in command, but they never acknowledged it, and because they had sort of retconned that into the regular series, they kind of avoided it. So it's possible that she did. Also, the women in the first pilot also wore more sensible clothing and stuff. They wore pants, which is good if you're running around in a dangerous place and you're going to fall on rocks or ground or whatever. But that was the unwritten rule that they couldn't have a woman in command,
So
and
the
there was only
speculative so the speculative fiction has limitations of his authors, right?
well,
So
the thing
if the
is you have to
author is
remember
often
it,
sexist
it
and racist and
Well, okay, yeah, but
well,
that's true. If the okay, for instance, let's say if Roddenberry was like unrestricted and could have done everything he wanted to do exactly the way he wanted to do it, I think it would have been a more open Star Trek. But he's not the one that gets to make the final decisions. You have
Yeah,
people that are saying everybody who's living in Peoria, is going to see this and they're going to freak out. So we can't have this, woman
Yeah,
as captain.
He who
he's
Can't have
not.
a
controls
black.
he who controls the pocketbook controls what's ultimately revealed
I
in
was
whatever form of
Mhm.
I was
entertainment.
I was getting ready to say that he's not the one that cuts the checks.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
he's not the
And
one.
he doesn't
And
make the final determination.
to be honest, to be honest, when Star Trek came out back during that time, and we were watching it, they were more concerned with selling color televisions, RCA.
Hmm.
Okay, they were more concerned with selling televisions than anything. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And if it
though,
weren't for Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, nah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and if it wasn't for Lucille Ball thinking this is what this country needs at this time, they wouldn't have gotten the chance to cut a second pilot to
Hmm.
even
Yeah,
come to air.
yeah,
So, in that case, the pocketbook went, yeah, I can see what they're saying, but we need this now. So go try
Hmm.
again within
So
Yeah.
yeah.
this constriction.
you're writing speculative fiction. You people who are authors of speculative, are you thinking about the ability to be like accessible to the market, or is it you're thinking, well, if I write this, no one's ever going to read this because it has a black woman being called Kolchak or something, and nobody, and so my thing is going to be dead on arrival.
Well,
Yep.
part of it was the fact that that like everybody else that had on something like that, that what NBC wanted was basically a monster of the week show. They didn't really care about progress or anything like that, so they just wanted to have a monster of the week, which is why the first broadcast episode was the Man Trap with the assault vampire,
Hmm.
which was actually the sixth episode actually filmed, and because that was a monster of the week, and so that was a good introduction, which is why it got confusing when they went backward. You notice the uniforms had changed and everything when they used the leftover uniforms from the first pilot for the actual second pilot, which was the third broadcast episode where no man has gone before. So that was the first thing that was going with that was strange with it. But
So,
again, there was a thing about there were some things that they didn't want to do because they blamed everything that they didn't want to do. They blamed it on the South. So
well,
they said, you,
but my thing is this though, Chris.
mhm.
The speculative fiction writer, when
Right.
you're writing this stuff, are you trying to write it so they can get to the most broad audience that there is? Forget about what
It
NBC.
depends. It depends
Okay.
on the writer.
o-
It just depends
Okay.
on the writer.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, I just with me, right? That's uh uh uh. It's like a balancing act. Okay, because I found out that I have people, you know, vanilla people who like my writing. Okay, so you have to kind of balance it out. And what I do is I don't think you guys are familiar with this character. I put enough Karnaki type of stuff. Karnaki was like a, a cult detective. Okay, I put enough occult detective stuff in my stories that will appeal to, I guess, the quote unquote broader audience.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I put enough what I call soul into the story too. And that's basically um that's basically minor historical black historical figures, and then it's every now and then I'll just like with the Wendell affair. That's like straight up an occult detective story set on Valentine's Day. But then I have like the Ravel affair, which is set not only in Vietnam but also in Harlem. Okay,
Hmm.
and I write about in the Ravel Affair. I write about what Harlem was going through in the year 1967 with the heroin and all of that stuff there. So it's a balance. It's a balance. And it at the end of the day, if you know people like it, cool. But if at the end of the day, if they're not, so be it. You know, so be it.
Hmm.
I think you can write what you need to write. Just be aware that you may have to hunt for the audience for it,
Yeah.
or at least waken the audience that would want it to see it. See it. It's
Hmm.
Yeah.
not just you can write it and put it on the shelf and it'll automatically sell.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
think also it's like you got to think, okay, my audience may not yet be ready for what it is that I'm doing. I'm gonna write it anyway because eventually they'll catch up. That's what I think.
Yeah, and
Well,
and then it's just some genres like with steam funk. After a while, I was like, I really this is this is just not working for me. I just wasn't feeling it.
Well, see, I loved steampunk. I mean, I thought it was um fantastic. I mean, again, like you say, it's not your bag, baby, but it to me was phenomenal because, especially because I know when Milton started steampunk, he was also writing Sword and Soul, which basically had its I guess foundation in like the sand and was it sand
Sword
and
and Soul.
sword and sandals type of stuff. And I liked it, but I said, if all your characters are based, in the African continent, that's nice, but we have a whole country over here full of people that, we can write stories about. So I was very pleased. We'd have been having that conversation for many years. So I was very
Hmm.
pleased when it came out with steampunk because now you have uh we're here in the United States and other places where the African community has moved beyond the continent, and a lot of it, of course, is industrial revolution, pre-industrial revolution, steam era, that never really manifested, kind of like Jules Verne kind of mindset, and putting black people, our culture, thought processes, and everything into this. I thought it was brilliant. I think I'm just thrilled because I know he's getting ready to open the doors for another steampunk anthology, and I'm completely 100% on board with that. I thought it was great
Yeah.
because the focus is a more modern interpretation of a lot of things that African Americans specifically had given to well, I don't say technology, but certain invention. And I
Yeah,
thought it was fantastic.
yeah, and
Uh,
don't get me wrong. I like reading it. In fact, God bless her, she's missed. Valjean Jeffers.
Hmm.
Okay, she was fantastic at steampunk. You know,
Hmm.
but it's just that you have to, you have to sort of like find what's best for you as a writer. And my thing was
Yeah,
just a cult, a
understood.
cul-de-sac.
Understood.
Yeah, yeah.
and
you know,
it's all about finding the audience because at Dragon Con they had a panel, is steampunk really science fiction? And one of the panelists, who's supposed to be this renowned expert on steampunk, wasn't even aware that there was a steampunk motion movement already. He goes, because he kept saying steampunk, hey, we should invent something like that. And I yelled out loud, it's already done. And his eyes were just like, what?
Yeah,
So
you
it's like
see,
even finding, awakening this supposed expert in the field who knew nothing about
it's
it.
very
So
irritating, to know that this is going on and you all aren't even acknowledging the existence of it,
Isn't that the norm? I mean, that's the norm. I mean, you can go to the ABA, American Bar Association, and people say, "What? That's black lawyers?"
Oh
I
well,
they're
you
all
know, yeah, it's either when it comes to stuff like that. It's either certain people didn't know about it or they have an automatic disdain for it. Because I remember a couple of years ago with Black Science Fiction Society on our Facebook page, it was a big controversy because create excuse me, creators were posted their latest project, steampunk,
Mm-hmm.
diesel funk, spy
Mm-hmm.
funk.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this white guy posts some type of what he called, I think, alabaster funk or something like that. And he just started carrying on about, oh, why does it have to be? Why y'all got to be separate from steam, steampunk and all this carrying on, and it got so bad the back and forth that Jarvis had to shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
Cause and I'm like saying to myself, well, you mean to say that you have nothing else better to do than come over on this page, Black Science Fiction Society, and sort of chastise black people for what they're creating, you know? My thing is like, mind your business. Out of
Brain,
here.
Well,
brain is brain is
it's
put it backwards.
it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of amazing that he even know there was such a thing as the Black Science Fiction Society, even if to be offended by it. But it's one of the things, if you go into virtually any comic shop anywhere in this country, and I'm pretty sure this will be consistent, and you go and ask them, do you have any books by Milestone? And they will look at you like you just changed languages in the middle of a sentence, and they have no idea what that was, even though Milestone had been bought by DC. They had incorporated Milestone characters into some of the DC Universe stories and so on. But there's some people who have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How could they be experts? How
But
could they
that's
problem
all.
solve?
Well, that's
How
the
could they
whole
answer
thing
so
about it. Depending on who it is doing it, they will have some independent comic done by somebody that was still done on a mimeograph machine, and they'll put that out. But if you tell them about or mention one of the characters, unless maybe it's static, they'll have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And
but
then
most
one quick thing to wrap up the thing: why Ahura never got to balance it, although there are a lot of progressive things. But if you look back at the characters, you had the main seven characters. You had, of course, James C. Kirk, Leonard McCoy, Spock, whose name you couldn't pronounce, although you really can if you find out what it is. You had Pavel Chekhov, Janice Rand, and Christine Chappell. And who were the other two characters for all 3 years they were on the show? Just Uhura and Sulu. They never gave them first names.
Hmm.
It was
Interesting.
writers in the Star Trek novels, and this is how things kind of go sideways or whatever. In two of the Star Trek novels in the '80s, it was writers who gave them first names because they said, "Well, you can't write a whole book or feature these characters, and nobody they just call them by their last names."
Mm-hmm.
That could be called nowadays a microaggression, but it's a heck of an oversight for two famous characters. Another real life thing that happened was during the series. In the first season, Nichelle Nichols told Gene Roddenberry she wanted to quit because she didn't think her character had enough to do and didn't like the direction. And the famous story is that weekend she was at a event where she got to meet Martin Luther King, who said that he and his family was a fan of the show. And when she said she was going to quit, he convinced her not to because it was a positive representation of black people on TV. So she said, "Okay, I'm going to stay with the show." And Roddenberry promised her that yeah, things will get better in the future. She
well,
was featured. If you look at those shows, that she's on the bridge a lot, and all the shots, the way the cameras are set up. So you see her a lot, but she doesn't have anything to do except look back at Shatner's back and then go punch some jelly beans on the console.
Mm.
Um,
But the thing is, for me as a kid watching that, I'm happy, and maybe it's a bone. Maybe somebody throw me a bone. There's a character on the main deck of this ship that
yeah.
looks like my mom and my aunts.
Well, that was the thing in
That's
the
that,
very
that's
first, in
yeah. I
the
mean, I'm not asking for a whole lot. I'm not asking for a Hamlet soliloquy. I mean, basically, what we asking for is some sort of representation
Acknowledgement.
that we exist.
mhm.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn about them. I don't care about no black man, to be honest. And maybe I'm wrong in that, but you know what? I want to look at somebody that looks like my mom and my aunts. That matters a lot. That mattered a lot to me.
Yeah, well, that's what it was back then. We weren't given much, but it was at the time better than nothing. Okay, and also forget the only reason why Chekhov was there to begin with was because the fact that George Takei went to go film the Green Berets with John Wayne,
Mm.
okay, and also the Beatles craze, okay, because when you look at Chekhov, that is not his real hair. The first couple of episodes, they told him, "Here, put this wig on." And it's like, why? Because you look a little bit like George, I guess. You know what I'm
It
saying?
was Davy Jones and the Monkees.
Yeah, David
Yeah,
Jones more like. Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
But the
You
other
know,
thing you have to remember is how long did it take us to realize that Franklin was sitting in a broken chair with the Charlie Brown gang, and he was the only one on that side of the table. But we were
Yeah.
just so glad to see him
I
there.
wasn't. Well, let me back up on that. I don't know about the rest of the panel, but I wasn't so happy to see Franklin be the only black character on Peanuts. I was not. I was more happy to see Uhura on Star Trek than
Mhm.
Franklin. I thought that was so. How do you say it? I don't know how to. It was like just not throwing you a bone, so to speak. Was like
Like you're an afterthought, you know?
yeah. It was hard. It was, and then he doesn't even shake Charlie Brown's hand. The way that everybody else greets Charlie Brown. He got to do something like some mini Soul Brothers handshake. I thought it was deplorable to begin with. So it's like if white people thought that putting Charlie Franklin on there like that was going to like assist us in some sort of pride thing or make us feel better, for me it was the opposite effect.
well, I think. Listen, for me, it wasn't Franklin, okay, and it wasn't Lieutenant Uhura. To me, it was Lieutenant Jefferson, okay, and Lieutenant Jefferson was action figure in the Major Matt Mason um, play set. Okay, he was a black astronaut, had a blue uniform. Between him and my brother getting for Christmas a black GI Joe, that was it for me. You know,
Well,
and
but the great thing about Lieutenant Uhura to me was she was on the deck and she didn't act any way differently than anybody else. She didn't do a soul sister handshake, or she wore the same outfits that every other female wore on the ship, whether you liked it or you didn't like mini skirts or didn't. I
right,
mean, you know, I, once again, my mother and aunts wore mini skirts, so it looked normal to me. And then when I got older, of course, I liked mini skirts for a different reason. But still, I mean, it wasn't any her. And this sounds stupid as hell, but her blackness didn't it wasn't forefront. It was the fact that she was a officer on the crew of a ship that was
Hmm.
flying through space, and which is different than Franklin, who they try to make it so obvious that this kid is black, right? They make it
Hmm.
so obvious, like, hey, black kids, look what we got here.
Well, there was one thing that was kind of like said, well, it was good and a bad thing, but it's in the third season, and it was an episode where Abraham Lincoln shows up.
Oh, with
Oh
his
And
yeah.
I was thinking about
negress.
that. I was thinking about, you know what though, Cranston?
So we don't use that word these days. So just
And
said
James
him.
and James can confirm this. Kind of my memory is probably what it is, but maybe different. But that word, I never heard that word said until I
Yeah.
came out of New York City. Should I been out of New York City? I said Abraham Lincoln called her a negress.
yeah,
And they edited that from the New York Star Trek.
Y'all never saw that?
We never saw it. Never saw
You
wow.
it.
never see that? You don't remember see that, James? We call
No,
her negress.
I don't actually. No, they when I saw it. Okay, when I saw it. Well, maybe that's because I actually remember watching these shows the first time they were on TV.
Aired. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the
with us,
first
we
time they
saw them
aired.
in
Yeah,
syndication.
it's like just like the Bugs Bunny cartoons that have
Yeah.
Oh
him
my
at
gosh,
various
yeah, that.
we never saw that in New York City. They edited.
Yeah,
They
they
edited.
did.
They
Oh
edited.
yeah.
Yeah, they edited King Kong when King Kong was killing the natives in the bill. They edited that stuff.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
super hyped on editing things like that.
Yeah, they were. I guess they knew what time it was with New
Yeah.
York. You know what I'm saying? But no, the night that that episode with Lincoln aired, I remember him saying "negress," and I was like,
What the
"What?"
hey?
Yeah, and it's the only the only thing that I guess it kind of didn't bother me was at that time, and I'm getting ready to write an essay about it on WordPress. This this man during the summer came to our house with a set of the what's it, the International Library of Negro Life and whatnot, and they were very good books. They were very good books, but at that time, I kid you not, I was like, why did they call us Negroes? And
Hmm.
back then, to me, when you
We
were
were black
called,
then.
well, to me, when people use the word Negro, they were like saying that you weren't human. That's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Mm.
that's
we
the
grew
feeling.
up. When we grew up, the word was colored. They're colored people, colored.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
And
like,
then
oh
it and
no.
then it, and then it quickly went to black.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I give y'all a quick trivia thing about that with the Lincoln episode. If you guys watch it and you see him like fighting and scuffling with people,
Hmm.
you can see the man's wallet in his pocket. Like,
The heck?
Because you gotta have a wallet when you're
Who the
fighting
heck
on an
is
alien
he?
planet. You
He's
gotta have
Aretha Franklin, man.
a form of ID.
Oh, that's it. That must be that. Because Aretha Franklin always brought her purse on stage,
You
they
gotta
said.
have your wallet.
And she
Oh,
didn't
you
trust
like that
people.
that police squad opening where they have
Hmm.
Lincoln being shot and he turns around and he shoots back at someone. You ever
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Of
You saw
course.
that? Okay.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
But
Three
yeah,
things real quick. They are out. Well, four things. One thing was I had a slight problem. On the one hand, it was good that Hura made the speech about
Right.
today, blah blah blah. But then I thought, and it wasn't like a white savior came in and explained it for her. So I thought that
Right.
was kind of good. But still, there was something about it that's a little bit unsettling too. If you look at the makeup on, and I think it was the one of the characters was so darkened until he looked black almost, and one of the villains. The third thing is this was a real life thing that happened. I was told a story about there was some sort of teachers uh, gathering or something like that, and during a break in the program, a white teacher came over to one of her colleagues who was black and just wanted to know and her question was, well, why do you people call yourselves African American now? This is like late '60s instead of Negro. Why do you call yourself that? And her reply to her, without even pausing to think about it, was, well, we do that because so many of your people have trouble pronouncing the word Negro.
Incredible.
I call
So
myself.
so
We
so
used to
it's
call myself.
okay. It's okay for people to walk around and say they Irish American, um, uh, was it Polish American, etc., etc.
But you
But
know what? But the thing is though, James. Here's the thing. I Someone asked me that this like 20 years ago. Do you prefer African American? Or do you prefer black? And without hesitation, for me, I said the word black because the word black had been so put in a pejorative or negative fashion for us that we owned it now. I'm black. I'm a black man. You know, my skin is black or different hues of black or brown or whatever. But black was used as some sort of like a thing to injure black people. So
yeah,
black to me, African American to me once again is a softening of like we say this thing about this continent, but really we're trying to smooth things over to is more of a integrationist word. I hate to use those kind of that kind of term, but you know, I'm interested in owning what what anyone calls me or what I call myself. I'm more interested in that, and as opposed to what you call me, some third party calls me.
Well,
well,
as our president pointed out last week, there are only the two N words that you can never say. And so I don't know if he meant, but he couldn't say them personally, or just that, that was a lesson for the rest of us. But
Numbskull and nuclear,
nincompoop, yeah,
nincompoop,
uh,
incompetent, incompetent.
yeah,
That's the N word.
yeah. Just
well,
pronounce it with you. Drop the A. Incompetent still comes out the same. Yeah.
well, with me, whether it was black or African American, I, you know, I don't
But I
have
think
a
the main
problem.
reason that they insist on whatever the definition is going to be is because it's a way of reminding you that you're not white.
And that's why I like black because I'm not trying to make things easy for you. I want to say, look, I'm black, and it's all encompassing. And the thing is that you say Africa, but that's a continent. I mean, you call people Irish American and Italian American; those are countries, you know. And people say that somebody's African has really little meaning because people come from different countries and areas, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's like generalizing for somebody else's convenience. And I hate why are we being soft? F soft. I'm black. You didn't want to. You felt uncomfortable calling me black. Now I own it. Now I'm black. Now what?
Well, with
it
me,
was like when Charlize Theron got American citizenship, and it says, so now can we say that she's an African American?
Yeah. Or Elon Musk.
well, I mean, technically, I mean, when you look at it, but with me, whether it's African American or black, either one, just don't call me two things. Okay, don't call me
A black
the
African
N.
American.
No, don't call me the N word if you're a white person, and don't call me late for dinner. Okay.
Okay,
You know
thank
what?
you.
It reminds we speaking about speculative fiction, and we talked about that Star Trek episode where Frank
Hmm.
Gorshin was on it,
Yes, yes.
and one person was black on one side, one person was white on the other side, and even Spock, who's like the intellectual, said, "I don't see any difference between
You
the
look the same to
Yeah.
me.
yeah,
And it's
Well,
like,
that was the
can you
other
tell?
thing that,
He's
what are
black
you
on the
fighting
right
about?
side.
Yeah, but can't you see?
Can
Can't
you
you see this man
see?
is black on his white side, and
I know. What's wrong with you?
Well, I guess that was the origin of the statement of I don't see color. So yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I see
Okay.
color. I see that you're black. You're both are black. Split down the middle, black, white, and you're both
Yeah.
acting like fools. Now you're on my ship, and you better get the f off.
Mhm.
You damn cracker block, block
I'm
cracker,
gonna put
cracker
my foot.
block.
I'm gonna put my foot in your black, white ass if you don't get off my
Mhm.
ship.
None of that nonsense.
Yeah, it don't make no sense. That's why I think speculative fiction is such a good vehicle for this kind of thing because I think just like James was talking about Rod Serling and Penelope was talking about the other guy, what's his name? The guy who found out that he was black eventually.
Gerby.
Uh,
Frank Gerby.
right. I don't think that people can absorb this coming right at them. I think it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. You have to sometimes,
Yeah, well, that's what they were
unfortunately.
trying to say. Again, Nichelle Nichols had said to Gene Roddenberry back in the first season, it says that what you're really doing is you're writing morality plays. And he just said, yeah, just don't tell them that's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And I think it was if they could get the message across, no matter how inconsistently handled it might be, that was the more important thing. So,
Hmm.
yeah. That's what it is. Sometimes, as a writer, you have to come at a person sideways.
Yeah.
Okay, and I find that also you have to just keep reminding people, whether they like it or not, of what the situation is, because it's a known fact that, in fact, this is the reason why I think it's important as a speculative fiction writer to use your creativity and as an artist, okay, and also as a patron to buy and consume this, that you have to remind people because you have a whole demographic of what you call, I guess, what is it now? We're on Generation Z, okay,
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, Generation
Gen
Z
Z.
and millennials and whatnot.
Generation Beta. The
Generation what?
latest is generation. The latest generation is Beta.
Oh, geez, I'm getting old, ain't I?
Yeah,
I
you
I
are.
don't know. How in the
yeah.
world could there be so many? Because
It,
if generation, if
it's
was
every 20. It's every 20 years. The the generation after millennials was Alpha, which was our grandchildren and their children, and they were born between 1980 and then 1995 and 20, and this year, and then the ones from
wait,
this year,
1995 and what?
This year,
1995 and this year.
Okay, so that's
like
what?
any of
That's
those people,
That's
Alpha.
that's
Yeah.
Alpha.
Okay, between 1990, wait, 1995 and 2025 is
Right,
supposed to be Alpha.
and the
And then
next
between,
generation is Beta, which will run from 2026 to 2039.
okay. What Beta,
so
Zeta,
there's none of that yet. So
but the main,
Beta doesn't exist yet. So
yeah,
all
Well,
that
no,
exists
depends
now
on
but
is
the
what?
writing calendar. Yeah.
but the main,
I mean, 2026 hasn't started yet, right?
Well, no, some have it starting in 2025.
but
So,
the main thing I'm saying, right? Whether is Polywaddle Doodle generation, whatever, you have to keep, you have to remind these people, okay, and you have to use speculative fiction, if not coming to them directly, to let them know that this is what happened, and was it as George Santayana said, if you don't have knowledge, I'm paraphrasing, if you don't have knowledge of the past, you're doomed to repeat it. See,
and this
and
is
this,
Yeah,
this
because
is
the
why
victor. I was gonna say because the victor rewrites history to his liking. Speculative fiction is the only place where you can tell the true history and get away with it.
and
exactly.
this is why Jesus
mm,
spoke in parables
Yep,
exactly.
parables were
because
speculative fiction. It
So
imagines what if.
this is basically our jobs, especially these days. I mean,
Hmm.
You
uh,
probably
Yeah. All right.
you
Okay, but I
you
want to say, and I know we talked, we talked a lot of theoretical, very interesting things, but nobody really has gotten into talking about who their favorites are, and we're like, you know, half an hour before finishing. So I wanted to get some, recommendations from people for what their favorite Black speculative fiction is or was, and and all the different areas, be it literature, film, television. What do you recommend for other people?
I I personally I say play the field, find what you like it, and find out what you don't like.
Well, that's
See,
what we're asking you. Tell us what it is
yeah,
that you
but
like, so we
yeah,
can
but
examine it.
but see, the problem is with me as a writer. The believe it or not, I don't like to read too much of
I
other
mean,
people's
I'm gonna
work.
understand. I understand that because sometimes you don't want
Right,
unconscious incorporation when you're trying to do your work.
right. So
So,
I
what about
I
movies? What about films and television?
I would say the same thing. I would
All
say the
right,
same thing. I pass
all
because
right. Moving on.
yeah.
Moving on to someone that will answer the question. Come
Hmm.
If
on,
you okay
Pam Bondi.
for
Mm,
unapologetic black characters, I would turn to Octavia Butler and what's this? Is Samuel Delaney? What's
Samuel
Yeah.
Chip's
Delaney.
first? Chip's role? Yeah. Because their characters were unabashedly black. They made no apologies for it. They made no exclamation for it. They just were.
Hmm. All right.
I remember having an argument with a friend who was reading an Octavia Butler book, and I looked at the cover and I went, "That's not of the character." And I remember saying to him, "I love this book because it made me, when I was a young child, felt like I could be a strong black young woman and still survive." And he argued about me that the character was not black. So I took the book, went back to the first few chapters where she was describing the character, and I had other friends around me. And I read the description of the book, and they talked about her coily typed curled hair, and my friends pointed to my hair.
Hmm.
Her broad, flat nose, and it pointed to my black nose, and her skin, whatever color, and pointed to my skin. And you could tell that this white man had never realized he was reading about a black woman.
Hmm.
Well,
And I
it's
think,
like when they didn't realize that Rue was black in the Hunger Games. So
yeah. So, and same token, Hermione. As much as I
Hmm.
don't like what J.K. Rowling says now, she never said what color Hermione was.
No. Well,
She
I say
just said
again.
her.
I'm gonna say
Yeah,
this. Don't go there on here
yeah. I'm
about
not going there,
JK.
but I'm just saying.
Because I support JK and her position, because it's hers and it's about her country and their specific rules
Yeah,
that have nothing to do with us. So I say don't go there on here.
but she never, when they cast a black woman in the stage play, she said, "I never said what race Hermione was."
Right? She could be anything.
Right. You put her in, and yes, Emma was the perfect casting for her in the movies, but she never specified.
Or she was fine. She could have been
Hmm.
anyone. She did a
But
great job on her role cast, but other
mhm,
actresses could also have done well. And it's just who it was that the casting director chose.
right.
which would
So
be interesting to see which way they go when they come up when they do the TV series.
well,
Well, the one good thing is, I mean, and from my perspective, like you were saying, Sonia, that they have a black woman in the role, on the stage. So now you have black, young women, girls who will see this role and say, I am not, excised from the
right.
universe of actresses that can audition.
Well,
That's all it is.
the latest controversy was the new Perry Jackson series, The Olympiads,
Hmm.
that's on Disney Plus. Everybody was all upset because they made cast one character as a black woman, and they're like, "Well, if such and such was involved, and he's not on social media, so he didn't know, but his wife is." And his wife says, "I bear you a message from him." And she put the video out there. He goes, "I was involved in the casting. I'm the one who said she should have the role. Shut up."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so give me a break, man. It's like
So,
it's we want everybody to watch it. That's what it's. We want everyone to watch. We want
and the
everyone
fact that
to
Zeus
feel like
is a
this is
black
theirs.
man.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
remember when they did was when Greece did was hosting the Olympics, and they had the story. What is it? Hercules they had, and the guy who played Hercules was cast as a black man in their um their Olympics, their opening
Yeah,
ceremony.
because they
So
forget that the term originally used for the Olympic gods, I can't remember what the Greek term is, but it translates as the black ones.
Penelope, remember the show?
Just like Krishna in India, as Krishna means the black one.
Right.
Penelope,
Oh, I
Whoops, we
lost
lost
him,
him.
and it
But
wasn't me. I did not click him off.
but yeah, for if you want characters that stand by their, no excuse or all that, those two authors are great. I
Okay.
love your work because it shows that we can be smart and sexy and deadly,
Yeah,
and there's no apologies for that. She just is.
that's right.
Ramona is like one of my favorite. Um, for young people, I always recommend Milton Davis's Amber series because it shows a young girl dealing with being a young black girl and realizing she has all this magnificent power within her.
Cool.
She's not afraid. She is initially afraid, but she tackles it
Right.
as
Right.
she has to
Cool.
and doesn't shy away from it. So I always, when I find a uh, young black person trying to figure out where they fit, I always recommend the Amber books and was it not Alicia. Was it Alicia McCullough? No.
Yeah, Alicia McCullough.
No, it's
Which
Cerise.
books?
Cerise, the one that she wrote with her son.
I do not know what that is.
Cannot remember, and I my copy got destroyed. But Cerise Renee Murphy has some that has a series that she wrote on her own, where it's a very diverse group because that's the way it is.
Hmm.
Uh, in her series, and then she wrote a series of books with her son, and I cannot remember the name of it right this moment.
Hmm. I think right now, like I said, Alicia McCullough is writing a series, and what is her name? It's something Jackson, I think it is, and she is, uh, I guess, an attorney,
Hmm.
and she has come into possession of a totem icon, a totem that gives her some powers. And it's really interesting because the very beginning, I haven't finished it yet because she did it as audiobook. So if you want to look up Alicia McCalla, and she has done an audio reading of this character. I don't know if anybody else is following it because I post it, every now and then when it comes up, I'll post that she's doing it. But interesting.
She also,
And
I was gonna say, she also has a series about all the gods mingling from all the
mhm,
different pantheons. And I remember reading that book and went, "I'm done." And she said, "No, write your book because it's your." No, no, you wrote exactly what I was thinking of all when what happens when all the gods of the pantheons mingle
cool.
and their offspring thereof.
Okay, I'm trying right now to get her thing. It's her. There's Alicia McCalla, Badass Women and Badass Stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, and mentioning that you have people who are like what is my again, like name goes in and out of your head. Mocha Memoirs Press, Nicole,
Nicole Givens Kurtz.
yes, Nicole Givens Kurtz, that she not only writes but she also publishes in editorials of other people's work. And that's another name that you should know if you want to try to look at these things to see if there's something that you like. Um, Also, because Milton Davis not only writes his own things, but does several anthologies. And if you are trying to figure out what it is that you really like, you can look up Milton Davis, Amazon or wherever, or and find what it is he's writing, what his anthologies are. Some things are cyberpunk, steampunk, or cyberpunk, steampunk,
Diesel
uh,
Punk,
diesel funk, uh,
Sword and Soul,
sword and soul. What is the other thing he does? Just straight up science fiction, the dark universe. So he does dark
and The
universe.
City.
Yes, in the city. All these things are a lot of science fiction, a lot of science fiction basically, and whatever type of science fiction that you think you might like, it's there. I just
I
posted here AliciaMcCalla.com where you go find out what she's doing. Like I said, her Badass Women uh, site. So you can check that out. Again, like I said, Nicole uh, Gibbons Kurtz. Who else do we have? And I hate this because you're trying to remember uh, everybody. Uh, Again, it's like some of us we tail off also into very adult things like erotica, erotic romance. I do so things like that. If you are interested in erotica, erotic romance, Penelope Flynn, you can find those. A lot of my books, regardless of what they are, they have very adult relationships. A lot of graphic violence and things of that ilk. Because I don't shy away from those things. Also, I wanted Nikki to tell us a little bit about. She reads um, historic romance novels, and I want you to try to just give us a little bit of insight into that.
Oh, I do. What's Beverly Jenkins? She does. She's romantic, and her stuff is like post Civil War, and I like her. That's it.
And what about her work do you like most?
I like everything really. Only thing I don't like, there's something I don't like. This is post Civil War, and during slavery, there was a lot of race mixing because of the master and the slave, and a lot of the stories, the and the woman that they're talking about is this woman, and she's like from New Orleans, light skinned and everything. I have nothing against that. But to say that she was the best looking person and comparing her to a dark skinned black woman, saying that this dark skinned black woman was not pretty, I had to stop reading her for a while. I had to I had to stop.
Well,
Yeah,
what made you go back? Number one, what made you go back? And then number two, you started writing your own sort of fiction as well, haven't you?
absolutely. That's another thing that Nikki is also a science fiction writer.
Yeah, I am.
So
Well,
what
I'm
made
still,
you what made
let's
you go
just say
back?
I'm still trying.
Hmm.
Number one, what made you go back
Well,
to that? And then number two,
I
what
don't, I'm
type
going
of
to be
what type
idle before 1 minute. I would be honest with you, Otto. I never really went back because I was real
okay, so you
mad.
never
Hmm.
went back. So what type
No,
of
I didn't.
what type of scenario are you writing for your fiction?
My fiction is more like, okay, mine is more like black people getting themselves together and leaving. People have died already, and when we all die, they all die. Black people and white people go to this planet before they make that big transition to heaven. And before certain people get there, everybody gets along. But this one guy, he dies and he gets there, and he just throws a monkey wrench in everything. And by the end, black people are tired, and they leave white people there, and they go to their own planet. That's just what you call it. That's just a rough draft, y'all.
Right. Super.
Don't
Super.
Okay.
And when you
Um,
say that, the other thing that I
that's
want
just
to mention too is that along with the Nikki's work, it also reminds me, of course, of William Hayashi's work, where he did the Dark Side trilogy about black people living on the other, the back side of the moon, as he called it. It was also one of my favorite trilogies. Conception, Discovery. Discovery is the first book. Conception is the second book, and Confrontation is the third book of the first trilogy. And I think Conception should be on the reading list of every university in the country. It is art, and I absolutely love it.
Why do you
And
think that, Penelope? Why you say that?
because it is about an individual post, you know, I guess during the 1970s, 80s, I guess, there's a person whose parents are post World War II who suffered a lot of discrimination. And this individual, Christopher, is brilliant, and he creates this mechanism that can control gravity. And once he creates it, he understands how vulnerable he is and what can possibly happen if anybody finds out that he has this mechanism. He gets in touch with his group of black male friends, and they decide that they are going to need to go somewhere else in order to be safe. And the machinations they go through in order to realize that there's nowhere on earth that they can live, and that therefore they are going to move to the moon. So, this great story about friendship, intelligence, all of it, about how these people decide who it is that goes and who it is that does not. It's just brilliant. I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And I would say, and it's from the perspective all only of the African American people who are going through it. So that's why I love it, because you don't have to bring anyone else in. No one else's opinion matters or anything like that. It's just working through this problem. How do we do this thing? How do we get there? Who do we bring with us? It was just really brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And the first book of this series, which is Discovery, is, Conception, or the second book is actually the prequel to the first book, which is Discovery. Also, really great story. But again, Conception to me is just brilliant. And Milton's work is also fantastic. Although I lean away from his, Sword and Soul works and toward his steampunk works, and then the Savad, Sivad, which he says is just Davis spelled backwards, Chronicles. But those are brilliant, and if you have a moment to read those, it's the Milton Davis Savad Chronicles. I think are great. Um, to help you kind of decide where you're going with regard to what it is that you like and don't like. Also, Steamfunk, the anthology, great writers, great stories. I mean, it is, again, excellent anthology. And of course, Dark Universe anthology by Milton and Eugene Peterson are the individuals who are the editors, the curators of that. You know, excellent work. Uh,
The
I have.
city is good because it's cyberpunk,
Mhm.
cyberfunk, excuse me,
So, yeah, so those things like
which
that.
and it has both utopia and dystopia in
So
it.
that
It's in the
again,
same city.
yeah, and so there again, it is another facet of these subgenres that you're going through, uh, trying to decide what area in speculative fiction that you enjoy. There was Kindred, is the time travel, deals with issues of time travel, moving in and out of time. I
Mhm.
really like Kindred. A lot of other people like other
The
pieces with
book,
Octavia
the
Butler,
book,
but
or
I liked
the book of
the
the series.
the book Kindred. I like the
The
book.
book is good. The audio drama that Sci-Fi Channel made is good. I'm still iffy about some of the other interpretations.
And there's an audio book of it that was done by I think Alfred Woodard.
Yeah,
That
seeing eye, that's a Seeing Eye Theater one.
Yeah, that one was really good. I liked it.
Sci-Fi Channel had commissioned it.
And I think I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? And I'm sure it'll come to me, of course, after I,
Yeah,
I hang up.
I'm
Uh,
I'm looking forward to reading a lot of now um, African and diaspora flavored, inspired fantasy, because that's not a novel area that most Black authors dive into, because they never, when you see fantasy, you think, oh, the leprechaun, the elf, and whatever, not realizing that there's just a diverse amount of such fantastical creatures everywhere else where the African diaspora went to or came from.
mhm.
There's a
And
lot of. I went through
yeah,
Kickstarter. There's a lot of Kickstarter um, starters out there for things that are based on African folklore.
oh, also, I know it's like it's tangential to it, but it based on a black female character, and that is Stranger Comics. Um,
Yes,
I
Niobe.
guess in the Niobe, and it's the Asunda universe.
Yes,
So even anything within the Asunda universe, Niobe stories are very good. Um,
they're
and
coming.
what is it? The
The
black?
Jason
What's it?
Wise they
Brown?
just came out with.
Mm-hmm.
It's
What was
out
it?
right
Brown
now.
Sugar Fairies. Brown Sugar Fairies, a children's book about brown
Tuskegee
fairies.
Airmen, the Tuskegee Airs, and that's Hiers, right?
EIRS.
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember. It's the descendants of the Tuskegee
Airmen.
Airmen and dealing with space stuff.
So things like that. Like, there's so much stuff out there. You start talking, and then also again, let me scoot over and say, if you are adults and we do speculative fiction type things and a very adult, you know, MA in NC-17, it was on film level stuff. Cranston and I are both curators, editors of the Blerdsassins anthology, in which but I have works, Cranston has works, James has works in it. Um, those are also out there for people who are more adult writing, that's just also science fiction and fantasy and things of that, because it's all science fiction, fantasy, horror, and those are good. You can find them again, under our individual names, or Penelope Flynn, or uh, Blurred Blurrotica. So
And
definitely,
also Sarogenous. There are two volumes of that also that cover kind of the same material.
yes, and those were edited by Valjean Jeffers and Quentin Veal. I could think did the artwork, and yeah, those were good.
And I can say for myself as a consumer that I will eat them all.
Huh?
I will eat them all.
All
Yeah,
right, consume them
I
all.
like
will eat
James
them
said,
all.
go out, find something you like, and if you like it, go out and look for more.
Yeah. So it's like
Well,
try different things,
I'm
and
gonna
then
read.
those will lead you to something
Yeah,
else.
I'm gonna also read stuff that I may not even like.
Yeah, but it may lead you to something
Yeah,
eventually
because
that
I'm
you
gonna.
do.
Yeah, because I like to challenge myself on stuff
Right, right.
and see different perspectives other than my own, or ones that I'd agree with. So
That's the
Hmm.
most revolutionary thing you can do.
Okay.
Take in somebody other's point of view.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and very, very. You never know, right? What it is that you will like unless you actually take a look at it. And I think that that's the hardest thing for most of us, that we just don't know what we like until we actually take a look at it. So, I don't. Anybody else have anything that they want to tout? Something that was someone or something that we've forgotten that we want to bring up?
Yeah, one thing is I don't know if how many of you were fans of the television series In the Heat of the Night, but
Hmm.
there is an actor, Jeffrey Thorpe, who played the character Milton Sweet, who was I think they only had what, three black people on the whole Sparta police force or whatever.
Hmm.
But after the show, he went into production and writing, and his most of his writings are science fiction related. He's also done some stuff. He's written for other television series and done some comics work, but he's also primarily a science fiction writer. So you can just look up his name and go to his website, which isn't updated very often, but it does have a idea of what some of his things are and where to find them.
Hmm. I uh, other than
I like the. I don't know whether this was mentioned or not, but the movie Black Noir. I like that. I
yes.
like that a lot because it's different stories I've never seen before. Actors, black actors who haven't been given a chance to be in that genre before, and black directors like Robin Gibbons, who I never thought had that kind of talent, directing some of these episodes. So it's an anthology. I think if you can check it out, check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was really amazed at how good it was because people originally gave it such lukewarm reviews. When you watch it, you see, no, this is really quite good.
Yeah, it's good. Don't go by whatever Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or whatever else says. It's really good.
Well, one of the
Yeah.
problems we have, unfortunately, is we have people that I remember when they first announced Discovery. There were a lot of people who said it was they were saying woke then. It was social justice crap, and that was because it wasn't so much that you had a black lead, but then you had an Asian lead, and that was just too much.
Too much
Too
color.
much. So
Too much color.
The thing is, we got to stop reacting to that garbage. I mean, we put the damn show on, and then we watch it. Either it's good or it's bad, regardless of whether if Star Trek was bad, Lieutenant Uhura couldn't help it. She wouldn't be able to help it. It was a good show, and she was on it. So we have to stop reacting to racist and sexist nonsense.
Well, see,
Yeah, just keep putting it out
what
there.
I said. That's what I said a long time ago.
Hmm.
Okay, buy what you like what you like. Don't go by what other people say because half of the people out there have an agenda. Okay, and that's why I never pay attention. I don't care what. I never pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes. I never. I'd rather look at something and let me be the judge. Okay,
Right.
that's like that's like the time. What was it last year that Barbie came out,
Hmm.
and you had all of the all these people getting on YouTube complaining about Barbie the movie, and I'm looking at some of these guys, and one guy that was complaining about it, he looked like he should be shopping in Granger or Home Depot for a leaf blower or he. I'm like, why, dude?
Why are you
Why are
watching
you?
the Barbie
I'm
film,
not watching.
man?
Yeah,
I didn't watch Barbie. I haven't watched Barbie. I'm not interested in that. I don't care if they
exactly.
had black. I don't care if they had black dolls in it. I appreciate all that, but it's not something that would
It's
interest me.
it's exactly that's what I say. I'm like I would never sit up and watch the Barbie movie because it's just
Right. Your
not I
style.
it's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. But you have some people out here that have an agenda that they want to put across, and that's the same thing with sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, people with bad mouth and sinners that didn't
I mean,
even
some of
watch.
them before the film even was out.
they're set
Yeah,
up to do that. They're set up to.
2 minute warning.
All right,
You
yeah,
go.
with the 2-minute warning, guys, for the show.
I
It's
was gonna
been
say
great.
quickly. If you went to a
Uh-huh.
bakery and bought, you went to the bakery and bought, you went to a black bakery and bought a cake, and the baker is black, and the cake was crappy. You wouldn't go back.
Right.
yeah.
It wouldn't matter. I want a cake that I can eat.
Oh, real quick.
Well, except before you say that, that does not explain Tyler Perry, but we'll deal with that some other time.
Real,
No.
real quick. I should have a story coming out in Halloween Party 2025, right around Halloween.
All right.
All
Halloween
right.
Party 2025. Look out for that.
Wish we had more time. You could give us like.
Yay!
Yeah, we're doing
Thank
that more
you.
time, but we will get more time
Next
later.
week.
Next week. We'll continue next week. But thank you all so much. We're down to the wire. Take care of yourselves. Be back again next week here in the Otherhood. Peace. Bye bye.
Peace.